Yo, yo, what's good, people? It is Tony the Savant live again. Before we get started, please like this video, share this video, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm dropping content and going live on the channel. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Okay, so you can be notified when I'm going live on the channel as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel as I go live daily, drop content daily, stay very busy on the platform. And last but not least, please leave your thoughts and opinions on the comment section. As I'm always intrigued to know what you all got to say about these topics. And ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm a little late, later than I'm usually am, but we are recapping week 2 really quick. I know everybody's dropped their thoughts on it respectfully. 1 second, y'all. Let me just make sure this is. Let me turn this up. All right. We good. We're good. But just wanted to recap these games really quick. As we had some good games. If I do say so myself, started all off with those Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. Now, I believe we did discuss this game around the time when it went down. But Josh Allen was spectacular. You know, he did it with his legs this time. Excuse me, he did it with his arms this time, not his legs. And it was a good effort on both sides of the football. The defense came up with 3 interceptions. Tua, you know, just to kind of give him his light, suffered a concussion in this game, and we are praying for a speedy recovery, of course, on his part. I believe there's been some updates, but I was just getting done with some projects. And again, I wanted to do my recaps really quick. So I will do I'll have an update for Tua, a video as far as all that goes after this live. But Josh Allen went 13 to 19 for 139 yards, also a touchdown score, QB rating of 79.2. Not a bad day at the office for Josh Allen. James Cook was the player of the game, 11 carries for 78 yards. He also had 2 rushing touchdowns. He also caught one touchdown as well on a 17-yard catch from Josh Allen. Khalil Shakir, who's pretty much the new number one for the Buffalo Bills, new number one receiver. He had 5 receptions for 54 yards. He put up some some good plays, some clutch plays. Dalton Kincaid actually got on the board as well. I don't believe he had a catch, or he only had like 1 or 2 catches last week, but a little bit more active in this game with 4 catches. And okay, so the update on Tua, at least he's out at least 4 games. So I just seen it come across the screen. But nonetheless, speaking of Tua, let's talk about these Dolphins, man. Tyreek Hill was nowhere to be found this game. The Buffalo Bills really clamped up on him. Not just him, Jalen Waddle as well. Shockingly, um, was not. I was very much so thinking one of these two guys, every week would be a big productive person. But Tua suffered a concussion again, left in the third quarter and did not return. And the update is that he'll be out at least 4 weeks. There's been suggestions and speculation that he may retire as well because of his history with the concussion. I know he suffered 2 in 2020 and 20 in 2022, and then I don't know if he suffered one last season, but of course this one being probably the worst because he kind of went not head on, but his head ran into the body of Damar Hamlin, who had a medical scare himself last year. Um, yeah, you just really hate to see this foreign athlete, especially somebody as talented as Tua. But the update is that he's going to be out at least 4 weeks. And so we'll see if the Dolphins could survive. The Dolphins are now in a very similar situation as my Green Bay Packers, who we'll be talking about a little bit later. Devon Chain. I always say my brother name wrong, but Devon Chain. He was the pretty much the highlight, only lone highlight for the Miami Dolphins. I'm sorry, I don't know if I said Tua's numbers. Tua went 17 or 25, 145 yards, 1 touchdown, and threw 3 picks on the night. Also suffered 1 sack. I don't think Josh Allen. Let me check that real quick. Yeah, Josh Allen did not get sacked at all. Very clean night in the office for him. But yes, Tua suffered one sack and had a QB rating of 18.0. Devon Achane again was the lone highlight for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not sure if I said this as well. Excuse me. The Buffalo Bills won 31-10. Wasn't ever really a competitive game. I think it was like 7-7 up into the second quarter, and then the Bills went to work from there. But Devon Achane had 22 carries for 96 yards. And he also led in the receiving department with 7 receptions, 69 yards. Jonnu Smith, he stepped up with 6 receptions, 53 yards. Also, Devon Achane had a score. He had the only touchdown for the Miami Dolphins, receiving touchdown. Jalen Waddle again, 4 receptions, 41 yards, and Tyreek Hill, 3 receptions, 24 yards. Very quiet nights for them. Definitely considering that this Miami Dolphins offense was supposed to be a very high potent, high power offense. For them to only put up 10 points is kind of, it was kind of crazy. I know they only put up 20 last week, but all things considered, this is something crazy. I think the Miami Dolphins would pick it up, but also these rivalry games, these rivalry and these divisional games always play out a little differently. It's always a guess who's going to be the one to shine, as both these teams know each other's playbooks, very well. So, very, very crazy, how this game played out. I did not foresee this going the way it went. Actually, I had the Dolphins winning by a touchdown. They ended up losing by 3 touchdowns. So, good game. Let's see. I think the Dolphins. I forget who has who next week. We'll get into week 3 matchups tomorrow. That's why I know I don't really pop out this late for lives, but wanted to do my week 2 recap before we went into the week 3 previews. And if I could just get back to where I was, yeah, appreciate that. But shout out to everybody, man, that's in the chat. Please like this video, share this video, hit the notification bell if you have not already. Subscribe to the channel as I'm doing a lot of work on this platform. The next game, or check out this hoodie. Next game, I guess we should get into is this Dallas Cowboys and New Orleans Saints game, man, which was very, disheartening for Cowboy Nation. I lived in Texas for 13, 14 years. So I got a big heart, for Cowboy Nation. I know that they are a bit crazy, a bit delusional, but, good people overall. And they just want the Cowboys to win. And when the Cowboys perform like this, I know it was tough for them to watch it. All my people back in Texas, shout out to y'all, especially my little bro, G. As the Cowboys lost 44-19 to the New Orleans Saints, I just want to say this as well. Derek Carr has been the best player, in the NFL so far. No interception. Well, he has 1 interception. He threw one last week, but I believe he has 5 touchdowns, 5 or 6 touchdowns so far, and he's just engineering a very scary offense. If I could say, man, this New Orleans Saints have put up 40 plus points in both games this season, 44 plus, as they put up 44 this week and put up 47 last week against the Carolina Panthers. So it was a good game. Let's talk about these box scores really quick. Let's look at Dak, the highest paid player in the NFL right now, has not been playing like that. In week 1, he didn't necessarily have to play like that, but still you would expect your franchise quarterback to be doing something, even in a blowout win. Dak did nothing last week, and he was pretty awful this week. To be frank, but he went 27 of 39. He threw that ball a lot for 293 yards. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times, and he put up a QBR quarterback rating of 53.4. Cooper Rush, I did not see that. Cooper Rush made an appearance, who I think is one of the finer backup quarterbacks. I think Cowboy Nation would agree, but 1 of 3 for him, and he went for 6 yards. Rico Dowdell, the young cat that not a lot of people know about. He led the rushing department with 7 carries, 30 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, who's been on a bit of a resurgence, had a very quiet night with 6 carries and 16 yards. Dak ran it 2 times for 12 yards. CeeDee Lamb led the way in the receiving as he caught the long touchdown pass from Dak Prescott. He had 1 touchdown, 4 receptions, 90 yards, um, and they connected on the 65-yard bomb earlier that game. Jalen Tober had 6 receptions. Luke Schoonmaker had 6 receptions. Just a very crazy night, man. I don't know about the Dallas Cowboys, man. I don't trust Dak at all. I know a lot of people are high on Dak, especially in Cowboy Nation. I am not myself. I think Dak is not good at all. Excuse my language. I think that Dak is what he is. He's a fourth round draft pick. I think the only reason why he's gotten as much, press and as much hype as he's gotten is because he's a Dallas Cowboy. That defense too, though, man. Defense was supposed to be top 5 this year. A lot of expectations, especially with getting, I think the cat Trayvon Diggs, especially getting him back. The defense looked awesome last week, and putrid this week. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know if the defense even showed up. I think they just sent a lot of dudes from the practice squad out there. But anyway, Derek Carr put up a good night. Very efficient, 11 of 16. Didn't have to do too much. That's really thanks to Alvin Kamara. But Derek Carr put up 243 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. I forgot he threw an interception in this game. My bad. 99.4 QBR. Very good. Alvin Kamara, he carried the ball for 20 times. He carried the ball 20 times for 115 yards. 3 rushing touchdowns for Alvin Kamara. He also had 2 receptions for 65 yards and a receiving touchdown. Alvin Kamara was very busy. If you got him on your fantasy squad, I know you are very happy about that. Jamal Williams had 8 receptions for 39 yards. Taysom Hill, that dude's been everywhere on the Saints. Special teams, quarterback, tight end. He had 3 receptions himself. Chris Olave, who was he had 3 rushes himself. I'm sorry. Taysom Hill had 1 reception. Excuse me, I was looking at the rushing department. So Jamal Williams had 8 carries for 39 yards. Rashid Shaheed, he led the way. Him and Chris Olave were tied for 4 receptions apiece. Rashid had 96 yards and a touchdown. Olave had 81 yards. No touchdowns for him. Alvin Kamara again had a receiving touchdown. Just high potent offense again. The New Orleans Saints, man, is going to be one of my favorite teams on Madden. How it's looking. They got weapons everywhere, and they got guys that you probably wouldn't think about that could contribute. Jamal Williams used to be a running back for my Green Bay Packers. He's a pretty good back, especially playing behind Alvin Kamara. He won't have to do too much, but yeah, this is a good game, man. And again, I just kind of feel for Cowboy Nation. I'm wondering how long the New Orleans Saints can sustain this. I know they're in the NFC South. Baker Mayfield has been playing great as well. Um, so it'd be interesting to see how they can hold up. And Kirk Cousins just had a fantastic win yesterday over the Eagles. So it's just the NFC South is going to be interesting this year. I think a lot of people expect the AFC North to be a power division. What else? Who else? Probably the NFC West, should be. But I think the NFC South may make a comeback. I think they might put their name back on the map as one of the tougher divisions. But a good win again for the Saints. Let's look at the next game real quick. And again, thank you everybody for showing up, for watching the video. Please like this video, share this video, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm dropping content and going live. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, as I do greatly appreciate it. We're moving on to this Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Detroit Lions. Now, this was another good game, went down to the wire. Baker Mayfield, again, I talked about him a little bit in the Cowboys and Saints review, but Baker Mayfield, man, he's been having himself a fantastic year. Really had some clutch plays, in this game. 1 yard where he juked the Detroit Lion defender out of his cleats, and then he had another 11-yard rush, the longest of his career, for a touchdown. So Baker Mayfield has literally been leading by example with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Took them to the playoffs last year. Again, they were put out of the playoffs by this very Detroit Lions team, and so this was a lot of a game that I believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had circled on their calendars for sure when the schedules dropped. Getting their revenge, they were able to do so as they beat the Detroit Lions 20-16. But this was a good game. Let's go through the box. Jared Goff of the Detroit Lions, who I've been a big fan of his, love how his career has turned around. I believed I was one of those people that used to call Jared Goff trash. With it's Jared Goff. He's my anomaly for how sometimes coaching and the organization can hold you back. As Jeff Fisher was going out of his way to try to ruin Jared Goff. It seemed like, but Jared Goff has had such a resurgence in his career. His young career still fairly not that he's not been around that long. Uh, I forget when Jared Goff. About 8 years in there. I had to double check on that one. But anyway, Jared Goff had a good night. Good night, just not enough. Now I want to say good night. He had 2 interceptions. But I just feel like Jared Goff got the whole city of Detroit on his back. He's a great quarterback, so I'm cheering for him. And I know that sounds ironic as a Packers fan. 34-55, 307 yards. Again, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Excuse me for saying good night. That is a horrible, showing. But he was doing what he had to do. And again, they lost by less than one score. And it was the 36 QBR, a quarterback rating. Jahmyr Gibbs, he ran for 13 yards. He ran the ball, had 13 carries for 84 yards. His longest rush was 24 yards. And David Montgomery, who was a bright spot for this offense last week, pulled up again with 11 carries, 35 yards, and a touchdown score. Goons, what's going on, brother? Good evening to you. Good evening to you, man. I'm going live a little later than I typically do, but had to get this week 2 recap done so we can move on to week 3. But Goons, what was your thoughts on week 2, man? Any game that caught your eye? Any performer? Do the fantasy football stuff? On the receiving core of the Detroit Lions, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a big receiving night, 11 receptions for and 119 yards. No touchdown scored. I believe he put up a touchdown last week, but nonetheless, no touchdowns this week. Amon-Ra was all over the place. Good to see him on the map. Jameson Williams, who was the bright spot for the receiving core last week. He had 5 receptions for 79 yards. These my bad, Goon said that's what's up. My bad, brother. But this was just a great game. I gotta say as well, this kid Aiden Hutchinson, who I was very, very high on. Okay. Goon say great weekend. Yeah, it was a good weekend. Good weekend of football. It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's what I say when football season roll around. Goons. But Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks in the first quarter. Ended the game with 5 for the night, or 4.5. And he was just a monster, man. I really think that. Yeah. I heard that. Ain't the Panthers your team, Goons? I think they ain't that your squad. But Aiden Hutchinson was a monster, man. I've been talking about this kid for some years. He's I'm glad that. Well, I'm not glad. I would love for him to be on my Packers, but I'm upset that we're going to have to go against this dude for the next 10, 15 years because he's a monster, man. Again, put up 3 sacks, 4.5 for the game, 3 sacks in the first quarter. He was just all over the place. But this defense is nice, just not enough to win it. And Goon says one of them. Okay. Yeah, they benched old young Bryce Young, man, and we'll be putting Andy Dalton in his place. I don't know how much better you are with Andy Dalton over Bryce Young. But Andy Dalton is a veteran. He's had some success in this NFL. I believe he's definitely made it to the postseason a couple times. So we'll see, man. We will see. But I think the organization of the Carolina Panthers is wild. I think they ain't in a position to be putting any kind of blame on Bryce Young when they've been proverbial losers for we don't know how long. Definitely since Cam Newton left, and they fumbled the ball on Christian McCaffrey. I've heard some wild things about their owner over there as well. So I feel bad for Bryce Young, man. Bryce Young might be another Jared Goff. He might get into another situation and shine bright. So, but Baker Mayfield was great this game. Again, had two crazy rushes, one for a touchdown. But he went 12 and 19, 184 yards, 185 yards, one touchdown, one interception. He was sacked 5 times, and that was all due to Aiden Hutchinson, and 51.1 on the quarterback rating. My boys say, goons say facts. Yeah, I think Bryce Young might just be another Jared Goff, man. And I feel bad for the young boy. You don't become a number one pick because you trash. That's the thing about it. I know Bryce Young ain't trash. The Carolina Panthers organization is trash. Nonetheless, Baker Mayfield also ran for 5 times, 34 yards again for that touchdown that we talked about earlier. Rachaad White, who's everybody in my fantasy league's been talking really high about, but didn't really do much. He had 10 carries for 18 yards. Bucky Irvin had 7 carries for 22 yards, excuse me. The receiving core, I think Chris Godwin is Baker Mayfield's favorite target. He was going to him early and often, I believe, the whole entire first quarter. It was Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin, as Godwin was the only receiver to get a catch, and then Mike Evans got in there at some point in the second quarter. But Chris Godwin had 7 receptions, 117 yards. He also had a touchdown score, and I don't know why he didn't get Chris Godwin on my fantasy, man. The first year I ever did fantasy, I think Chris Godwin, he was a rookie that year, and he was putting in work for me then. The legend Mike Evans, who just adding on to his illustrious career, had 3 receptions for 42 yards this game. Boom, 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 boom. Christian Izian had that interception that we discussed. Oh no. Christian Ezian had 1 reception. Zion McCullum, the Tampa Bay defense, came up with 2 picks on Jared Goff. So just another ugly win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's how they've been getting it, since the retirement of Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield has had a career resurgence with the Buccaneers. I'm happy for him. I know he just got his money as well. So and they got it back in blood, man. I've loved these revenge games. I love to see teams with a motivation. Like I say, I believe that the Buccaneers had this game circled when the schedules dropped, and they definitely let the Lions know if we see y'all again, it's going to be on equal footing. And I'm always happy to see the Detroit Lions lose as a Packers fan. But real quick, please, everybody, like the video, share the video, all that good stuff. If you have not, please subscribe. We're going to move right on to the next game, my Green Bay Packers. As we did what we had to do. Now, if you wasn't aware, our franchise quarterback, Jordan Love, is down right now. He'll be out in the foreseeable future, although I believe he's been upgraded to questionable, so that means he's walking around on that knee. I forget exactly what was hurting on him, ankle or a knee or whichever one, but nonetheless, he's out the next 3 weeks, but he's been upgraded to questionable. So that left us with Malik Willis. Now, I had to do my research on Malik Willis because he was not on our depth chart at all during summer camps and pretty much didn't get to the Green Bay Packers until about 4 weeks ago this time. We signed him August 22nd, and he moved up to be our number 2 quarterback behind Jordan Love as the guy that we got. I believe, I don't know why they just didn't like him or he's not ready yet. I think he's a pretty serviceable kid. The original backup quarterback that we have. But we ended up signing Malik Willis, and I'm glad that we did because he looked very good in this game. He didn't have to do too much. He's surrounded by weapons. We got, the core of receivers that we got in Green Bay, all young, all vibrant, all jockeying for that number 1. YWR1 for the Green Bay Packers. It's looking like Jaden Reed right now. But in 2022, it looked like Chris Watson. In fact, in 2023, it looked like Chris Watson again until his injury, and then Romeo Dobbs for a couple days. So, like I say, Jaden Reed right now looks like our number one wide receiver. But you also got that cat Josh Jacobs, which I'm so happy we was able to get him. I love Aaron Jones. He was a great Green Bay Packer for us, but we had to make a bit of an upgrade. So we got younger and got better at running back. If you don't know about Josh Jacobs, he is a beast. He used to do good work for the Las Vegas Raiders, carried them into some wins. And so I figured he would do that for this game, and that's exactly how it went down. But let's just look over the stats real quick for the losing team. The Green Bay Packers were able to win this game 16-10. The score is close, but the game never really was, as we were able to win ugly. We were able to win old school football by rushing, and then our defense stepped up when they had to as well. Anthony Richardson, who I am very high on, I think this dude has a cannon on his arm. I think that he can move around. He's a very good mobile quarterback. You give him a couple years, 3-4 years, I think Anthony Richardson is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He didn't really get to showcase that much this game, as my Packers defense, we have stepped up a bit with Jeff Hafley, former head coach of the Boston College football team, and he's coming over here and giving us a 4-3 defense, I believe we're running, so putting a little bit more of some cornerback, a little bit more catering to our strength of our pass offense. And so we was able to put some pressure on the young boy today, man, and I'm glad that we were. But he went 17-34. Sunday, 17-34, 204 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He got sacked once and had a QBR of 29.1. Again, I'm high on Anthony Richardson. That's impressive numbers for a young boy that's going against a good defense, I believe, in my Packers. Jonathan Taylor doing what he did. He didn't have a lot of carries, 12, but he was able to have an 100-yard day. Excuse me, with 103 yards. He had a big rush for 29 yards. That gouged my defense. No scores for Jonathan Taylor, but if you got him on your fantasy team, I know you're happy about that. Alec Pierce led the way for the receiving core, who I thought Michael Pittman was really, he had 3 receptions. Michael Pittman Jr. had 3 receptions, 21 yards, but he's been quiet these last few weeks, man. I know a lot of people was high on him as far as his fantasy value. He had a couple big games last season, but he's been very quiet this season. Nonetheless, Alec Pierce, I believe the second-year player, I believe he's a rookie or a second-year player. I got to see Alec Pierce resume again, but he had 5 receptions, 56 yards, 1 touchdown, and was pretty much Anthony Richardson's favorite target this game. The defense came up with no interceptions, no sacks. And it was a clean day for Malik Willis. So yeah, man, the Colts are still young. They still, in shambles right now. I think they're gonna win some games. They might get the second place in that AFC South division. But not on us, man. Malik Willis, he had 12 of 14, 122 yards and 1 touchdown, 82.6 in the QBR. Very impressed. Again, Malik Willis did not have a lot of QB experience. He came over from the Tennessee Titans. He started, I think, like 3 games over there. No touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So, not the ideal backup quarterback situation. Some experience, but not a good sample size. But he was good for us, man. Like I said, he didn't have to be no Aaron Rodgers. He didn't have to even be Jordan Love. He did what he was supposed to do, made the passes he was supposed to make. He also used his legs a lot because Malik Willis's strength is his rushing attack, his ability to rush. But Josh Jacobs led the way for the Green Bay Packers offense with 32 carries, 150 yards, no touchdowns for Josh Jacobs, but putting up them Joe Mixon numbers like Joe did last week. I think Joe had 30 carries last week. Crazy for the Texans. Malik Willis had 6 carries, 41 yards. Jaden Reed had 2 carries for 27 yards. Marshawn Lloyd, he went down with an injury. Our young running back that I've been very high on. Uh, he had 6 carries for 15 yards, and again went down with the injury. I'll have to get some updates on him. Dontavian Wicks came up with the lone touchdown score. I thought Jaden Reed did. Dontavian Wicks had 3 receptions, 26 yards for 1 touchdown. I swore that was Jaden Reed. So I'm probably thinking of last week. Jaden had 2 receptions for 9 yards. Didn't really have a good game. Romeo Dobbs, 3 receptions for 62 yards. Again, so crazy how our receiving core works. Is we even got 2 outstanding receiving tight ends in Tyler Kraft and Luke Musgrave. So on the defensive side of the ball for the Packers, Xavier McKinney came up with his 2nd interception for the week. For the season. He had one. We had one last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe he got the 1st interception of the season for us. The new addition of the team as well. Very happy about his addition to the team. Evan Williams got him an interception as well. Eric Wilson got him an interception as well. So all these guys, man, I love my defense. Y'all know me. I'm very big on defense first, and then you add into that offense. So I'm glad to see my Packers defense doing what they supposed to do. Only allowed 10 points again. Very impressive game. All right, guys, I'm gonna try to blow through these games real quick. And I'm gonna get a little bit more prepared, man. I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes, some things. It's kind of like a birthday wish, you don't really want to talk about it until we get there. All right, we're going Jets and Titans. Aaron Rodgers got his first, technically a second win. Second win as the New York Jet. His first as starting throughout an entire game, as he did suffer that injury last season. We all know about. We're gonna do the box score. I'm just trying to give you my overlap of it, but I believe he put up 2 touchdowns in this game. It was a good game, back and forth with the Titans. Will Levis is looking impressive, taking on the starting quarterback duties for the Titans. Doesn't really have much to work with, but what he has, he's doing what he has to do. He started off hot against the Bears last week, and they kind of cooled off. The Bears defense got hot. But the Jets were able to win 24-17 in this game. The 49ers and the Vikings, I don't know what happened to the San Francisco 49ers. I believe that I also heard that Deebo Samuel has suffered an injury. He'll be out for a few weeks, so that's just daunting. So we're going to really see what Brandon Ayuk is made of. He'll get even more of the receiving duties. I already deemed him kind of as the number one. Oh, God. I'm sorry, y'all. I was looking at ESPN. Brittany Griner and somebody was fighting. The young girl, Rickea Jackson. Wow. I'm sorry, y'all. This is crazy. I did not know this happened. Yeah, Brittany Griner and Rickea Jackson got into it. I'm going to look into that. That's crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. 49ers and the Vikings. Sam Darnold was looking good in this game, man. I think he had 2 touchdown receptions himself. 2 touchdown scores. I think I can't recall. I want to look at the box score so bad. But the 49ers was funky this game. The Vikings was giving them the flux. I actually watched this game. So, I got to see this game from start to finish. And the 49ers were never really able to get into it. But Sam Darnold was cooking. Justin Jefferson had a big touchdown score, I think, for like 95 yards from Sam Darnold. He also suffered an injury. He went down in the third quarter, but not without getting, I think he had 4 receptions for 133 yards, something like that. So, got his those Justin Jefferson like numbers, but we'll be keeping you all update on the injuries as well. But yeah, the 49ers were able to get this. I mean, excuse me, the 49ers dropped this game 23-17 to the Minnesota Vikings. Seattle Seahawks, they had a down to the wire game with the Patriots. They was able to win 23-20. Um, and I was able to look at that game. I was kind of clicking back and forth between the 49ers game and with the Vikings, and in that particular game, the Patriots and the Seahawks. So that was a good game back and forth. Um, and I had to look more into it because I kept turning. But the Seahawks were able to notch the victory 23-20, and Geno Smith has been impressive as well, doing his thing, the old wily veteran. The Commanders and the Giants. The Commanders were able to win this one 21-18. From what I heard from this game, I didn't get to see this game, but Jaden Daniels put his name on the map in this game. So shout out to the young boy. The Chargers and the Panthers. The Chargers mauled the Panthers 26-3, as you all seen from Goons earlier. It was announced that Bryce Young will be will be benched, excuse me. Um, it, excuse me. I gotta quit looking at this screen. Bryce Young will be benched in for Andy Dalton. But the Chargers were able to win this game 26-3. And Jim Harbaugh, man, I gotta say, man, he really uh, uh, induced his philosophy on this team. They are really, dedicated to the rush. J.K. Dobbins had another big rushing game 2 weeks in a row now. Shout out to J.K. Dobbins, man. I had him on my fantasy team last week when he played with the Ravens, and he was doing good work with them. So he is a service. He's a good quarterback. I mean, he's a good running back, man. He's a really, really good running back. So I'm glad to see him getting his shine out there in LA. Browns and the Jaguars. The Browns were able to win this game as Deshaun Watson finally looked like Deshaun Watson, the one that came from Clemson and shined for the Texans. I don't know why I wanted to say Titans, but Sean Watson looked like Deshaun Watson again, and helped the Browns win this game 18-13. The Raiders 26-23 in a close game with the Ravens. I don't know what's going on with the MVP and the Ravens as they are going 0-2 so far. Lamar Jackson is holding a special spot in history as far as being the first MVP to go into his next season. And drop the first two games. It's not ever happened in NFL history until now. So Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh as well. I hope they're able to clean that up um, and get that in order because the Ravens are one of those teams. It's one of the juggernauts in the AFC. They already dropped the game early against the Chiefs. Their quote unquote revenge game, as we talked about a little earlier with the Buccaneers and the Lions. So not off to a good start. And you definitely don't want to lose to a team like the Raiders, respectfully. With Minshew over there, and not really much to talk about outside of Max Crosby, and Devontae Adams. You kind of want to get that game. That's a game that you probably would circle on your schedule as winnable. So, unfortunately, they lost this game. Cardinals versus the Rams. Man, nothing to talk about for the Rams. I think they did lose Cooper Kupp. He's on the injury list as well, joining Puka Nakua. So, man, you hate to hear that, but we'll see what happens, especially because Cooper has been so injury prone these last few years. But the Cardinals, man, they blew the doors off 41-10. Marvin Harrison had his his official NFL welcoming game. I know for sure I was playing fantasy and I went over to see Marvin Harrison's scores or his totals or whatever, and he had already had like 30 points in the first quarter, y'all. 2 touchdowns, a big touchdown score, a couple good passes. So stunned like his pops. We knew eventually this young man would shine and shine bright. So good for him. Good win for the Cardinals, who I have high expectations for this year. Steelers versus the Broncos. The Pittsburgh Steelers, second week behind Justin Fields, getting another win. Just improbable wins too. I mean, the Steelers are really winning ugly football. Excuse me. Excuse me. They win 13-6 in this game. Again, Justin Fields did just enough to get the job done. Another ugly win, and I don't know what's going on with the Broncos, man. Bo Nix, he looks good, man. I think Bo Nix is going to be a good quarterback, but Sean Payton, I think he needs to be put on the hot seat. We got to be some questions asked. I wouldn't even say hot seat just yet, but we got to start asking some questions about Sean Payton's decisions. And shout out to Bronco Nation. I've been really asking everybody out in Bronco Nation what they think, and they on the same wavelength. Like, what's going on with Sean Payton? Why nobody talking about him? The Chiefs and the Bengals had a good game, man. It's always a movie when these two teams match up. Of course, you know, you got the Joe Burrow and the Patrick Mahomes, you know, factor. Joe Burrow being the only one of the only quarterbacks to have a winning record over Patrick Mahomes. Well, Patrick had something to say about it this game. A little controversy at the end. You know, a lot of people have been talking about a particular pass interference that went towards the way of the Kansas City Chiefs. But when you on the second look, it looked like it was a good call, fair call. This was a chippy game. You know, it was one of those rivalry games where they was going back and forth the entire game. I know that Jamar Chase had got, you know, super upset at some point in this game. I believe in the fourth quarter, and I think it cost the Bengals some yards. He got a penalty for it, but the Chiefs were able to win this game by 1 point, y'all, 26-25. And this game just went down to the wire again. Pass interference helped the Chiefs, you know, on a fourth down drive that they did not complete. Was able to get the first down because of the call, and got NFL Twitter in the uproar, as the Chiefs always do. But they got this game. Isaiah Pacheco went down with an injury as well. He will be out 6 to 8 weeks, which prompted, this is all updated news, which prompted the Chiefs to bring back Kareem Hunt. So that's going to be something to see. You know, Kareem Hunt was a fantastic running back for the Chiefs in his time there. He got into a bit of some trouble, you know, and you know that was ultimately the reason why he was traded to the Browns. But outside of that, I think this is going to be a good, you know, reunion between the two. I always like Kareem Hunt as a running back. I think he did a good job for the Browns as well as the Chiefs. So we'll see how much more he has in the tank with this second go around with the Chiefs. But yeah, the Chiefs won 26-25. We also got the Bears and the Texans for the Sunday night game. Shout out to my brother Trey Catalyst. He is a big Houston Texans guy. The Texans took this game 19-13. It was an ugly game, you know, not really much to talk about. And I had Stephon Diggs, man, in this game. Stephon got a couple passes, but it just wasn't enough for me to win this week in fantasy. But the Bears, man, they were bad, you know, this game. And I think Caleb Williams, I don't know if it's just a rookie thing or if it's just a, you know, developmental thing, but I'm not really seeing it just yet with Caleb Williams. You know, I feel like they could have just stayed with Justin Fields and gave him another year to kind of get, you know, acclimated. But the defense of the Texans feasted on Caleb Williams, and that's no pun intended. I think they was able to get in an interception or two, but 7 sacks for sure. I think they had 2 interceptions and 7 sacks, man, and like 11 QB hits, I believe, as well. I remember seeing in the box score. 11 QB hits, 7 sacks, 2 interceptions. That's tough on any quarterback, especially a rookie. But the verdict is still out on Caleb Williams. I know it's just a 2-game sample size, but the defense was able to save him last week. This week, you know, especially when the Bears were dependent on him for some of that Caleb Williams magic, he wasn't able to produce. So we'll see next week. But the Texans were able to stump a hole in the Bears in this game. The game, although close in score, was not this close, you know, in the actual unfolding of the games. And then we got this Monday night football game where Kirk Cousins did what Kirk Cousins does. I wouldn't be surprised if on his way from the field to the locker room, Kirk Cousins did the "you like that" celebration, because he did his thing in this game, man. Down to the wire versus the Philadelphia Eagles with Jason Kelce in the building in the Philadelphia Eagles Stadium. Kirk Cousins walked them down. with under a minute, well, with 2 minutes to go, under 2 minutes to go on the clock, walked the Eagles down and ended off a nice drive with a 5-yard touchdown to Drake London. Um, this is why Kirk Cousins got that money, man. This was the if you want to know why Kirk got that money, he has multiple games like this, but this was the game that really displayed why Kirk Cousins is a formidable QB. I think that the Atlanta Falcons have enough to be a dark horse for a Super Bowl contender. I think that Kirk Cousins is just that good. When he's on, he's on. That's the thing about Kirk Cousins. And when he's not on, he's not on. Some situations haven't been his fault. Because he can't play defense as well. But the Falcons was able to win 22-21. Kudos to Jalen Hurts too. Jalen Hurts looked like an MVP candidate in this game. Probably wasn't the perfect game, but Jalen Hurts made a number of plays with his arm and with his leg. His touchdown pass to Devontae Smith was something to see. Especially if you've seen it from the QB angle. On Monday Night Football, they ran it like once or twice on the replay from the QB angle where you can see what the QB sees when he's making the play, and how Devontae Smith came across the end zone, literally had 3 defenders around him, and Jalen Hurts was able to put it right in the spot that only Devontae could get it. Jalen Hurts, man, this is why he is a very MVP candidate. He definitely was in the race for it in 2022. Kind of fell off a little bit in 2023 because of his injuries and situations that just unfolded and in Philly. But this was, if it makes sense, I like to say sometimes some things are good losses. This is a good loss for the Eagles. Heartbreaking loss, of course, how it happened. That defense has to get cleaned up immediately with Vic Fangio, the new coordinator over there. They got Keon Mitchell, they got Darius Slay, CJ Gardner-Johnson. They got a lot of hitters over here, man, on this defense. Jalen Carter. There's no reason in the world why they're getting gouged in the rushing department and the receiving department the way they are. The Philadelphia Eagles are better than that. I think they have the personnel. They have the new coordinator. Maybe it's just a bit go take Vic Fangio a little minute to get acclimated to getting his defense where he wants it to be. But nah, man, that I don't know that how Kirk Cousins walked them down. That was something to see, and it was literally underneath 2 minutes. I believe by the time they got the touchdown, it was less than a minute. They was really operating with under a minute to go in the most of that drive. So good game for the Falcons. Again, man, thanks everybody for pulling up. I just wanted to recap these games really quick. Shout out to my brother Real Goons TV. I wanted to recap week 2 because it was a good week 2 in football. I'm very excited, and I'm trying to get some college football recap in as well. I ain't watching those games for nothing. It's just a little bit more difficult to get the college stuff in. There's so many games, so much more going on in college, and keeping up with every headline. Coach Prime and all those guys, they took a very bad. No, they won this game. They won this last game, but some of the things that's been surrounding the Colorado Buffaloes, I wanted to speak on, but I'll probably do that tomorrow after we do our week 3 stuff. Getting into next week. But on your way out, man, please like this video, share this video, hit the notification bell so you can be notified when I'm dropping content and going live on the channel as well. Please subscribe to the channel as I drop content daily, go live daily, stay very busy on the platform. Thank you all for the love and support. I cannot say that enough. I am working on some things behind the scenes that I think y'all are truly are going to enjoy. And I'm just kind of keeping it under wraps, kind of like a birthday wish. I don't really want to speak on it until some other things unfold. It's going to unfold. It's a matter of when, not if. So thanks everybody for just rocking with me. Again, shout out to my brother Real Goons TV. Please subscribe if you have not already. I am Tony the Savant. Peace.